Hello. Hello everyone, Cheryl Arkle, Better Reading. What are you reading? I tell you what, it is the month for reading. We're now into November and Christmas is coming up, and there is so many good books around. Cheryl Arkle, what are you reading? What are you reading? What are you reading at home? Why don't you tell me what you're reading? You know how it works. I'm going to start with Kate Minderhall, and this is called The Hiding Place. Now, we know Kate from her previous books. I think this might be her third or fourth. The Hummingbird Effect was a previous book. I can't remember which number. But this is the new one. This is actually a proof, as you can see. But it's a sharp, explosive thriller about what we bury to protect the life that we think we deserve. What would you do to protect your life? Anyway, she's a really lovely writer. She's Melbourne-based, and this is called The Hiding Place, and it's out now. And that's by Kate Minderhall. Tell me if you've read any of Kate's books, because we've recorded a podcast with Kate. We've had her in here. She's really great talent, and this is her new book. What are you reading? Tell me what you're reading. All right, so much is happening. As I said, it's a very big month. Tia Cooper, The Tangled Web. Now, I know she's a favourite with all of us, and we're going to put this book up on the screen. There it is. What a beautiful cover. It's called The Tangled Web by Tia Cooper. Tia is a great friend of Better Readings. She lives just up the coast here in New South Wales. She often comes to visit, and we have had many conversations with her. I know she is well read and well loved by everyone at home, by the readers at home. So that's Tia Cooper. The book is called The Tangled Web, and it's a twisty historical mystery of disguise, deception, and blood. It's set in Maitland in 1892, and that's near where she lives. And it's the sudden death of a beloved father leads to a young woman on a quest to find a missing boy. That's the new Tia Cooper, and it's called The Tangled Web. Tell me if you've read Tia, I'm sure you have, and tell me what you think. I think she's up there in terms of writing historical fiction. She's a great storyteller. Anyway, Cheryl Arkle, Better Reading. What are you reading? Tell me what you're reading. Okay, now it is really, we are on the countdown to Christmas. And I guess we're putting together our Christmas list of what we want to read for Christmas. Tell me what's on your list. What's on your Christmas reading list? What is it that you would like Santa to get you for Christmas? Okay, hi everybody, Cheryl Arkle. Here we go, we're all here. Sharon says, hi Cheryl, hope you're well. I'm reading We All Live Here by Jojo Moyes. Christine says that... says hi to me. Carolyn, hello Carolyn. Carolyn says, hi Cheryl, this week I read Death at the White Hart by Chris Chibnall, The Scene of the Crime by Linda LaPlante, and King Tide by Luke Johnson. A grisly by thoroughly enjoyable week. You've read 3 books this week, Carolyn. Honestly, you never cease to amaze me. That's a great list. Tell me, what's on your Christmas list? Are you going to ask for books for Christmas? Kaz says, I'm still reading The Lucky Sisters by Rachel Johns and loving it. We all love Rachel. I saw Rachel at the Perth Writers Festival a couple of weeks ago, and she's just such a beautiful person and such great fun. Yvonne is reading The Suspect by Michael Rowbotham. I think we've got that here somewhere that we can hold up. Can somebody pass me The Suspect? Michael was also in Perth. I think it's at the table back there. Michael was also in Perth, and you know he's a great friend of Better Reading, and I've recorded a podcast with him. He often comes in. He's done a What Are You Reading with us, and the new book, of course, is called The Suspect. And we've got the new books, The White Crow. So there it is. That's Michael Rowbotham, loved by all. Cheryl Arkle, what are you reading? Tell me what you're reading. Countdown to Christmas. What's on your gift list? Are you going to ask for books for Christmas, or what are you going to read over summer? Alita says, hi Cheryl, about to start Murder on the North Terrace by Lainey Anderson. What do we got? Colleen says, hi Cheryl, just started reading The Detective by Matthew Riley, which I've heard is wonderful. Met him a few days ago at his Melbourne launch. He is out and about at the moment. I think I've heard a lot of people have been going to Matthew Riley events. He's a great talker. I think he lives in LA and is visiting Australia. I'm not sure whether he's back living here. But anyway, great author, great writer, and always a roller coaster, his books are. I remember years and years ago, before podcasts, I was in LA and I met Matthew Riley in a cafe and we did a Facebook Live. That must have been, at least 8 or 9 years ago. Anyway, he was so generous with his time. We had great fun. Okay, Deborah says, hi Cheryl, hope you're well. I'm reading Elizabeth George's newest called A Slowly Dying Cause. I've enjoyed what I've read so far. Thanks, Deborah. Jane says, I've just finished The Kashmir Shawl by Rosie Thomas and Joanne Nell's The Great Escape from the Woodlands Nursing Home. Both are great reads, Jane says. Thank you, Jane. Christine says, I've just finished The Underworld by Sophie Laguna. Magnificent. I love her. I think she's a beautiful writer. Also had the privilege to meet her last night here in Ballarat. Yeah, she's out and about. And she really is. She's a lovely person and a lovely writer. Okay, a couple of things I want to talk to you about. We have pulled out a few podcasts from the archive. Some of the favourites of all of us here at the Better Reading Office. One of them was with Beth Leary, and it's called The No Show. So if you're listening to the podcast and you want to go back and look at the archives, Beth O'Leary is one to look out for. I think I've told you this before, but I have recorded well over 600 podcasts since we launched the podcast. And you know what that means? That means I've spoken to... Well, I think it's 690 podcasts. Can you check that for me, please, Verity? I've got my brain trust here. Now, some of them would be doubles, but only, let's say, 20 or 30 are doubles. That means I have spoken to 600 authors in the past few years. Wow. And all of those podcasts are available for you to listen. I always find it really hard to... listen to myself talking to people. But sometimes I do go back and listen to some of my favourites and I enjoy them so much. Beth O'Leary was one of them. Matt Preston was another. He came in actually and we did this podcast in person. He was probably double my height. I think I came to his waist. I've got a photograph, I think it was 2 years ago, of me standing beside him. And of course, he's always so beautifully dressed, absolutely dapper with a handkerchief in his pocket. And I think I came just above his waistline. But just a remarkable presence and a really nice guy and a great conversation. So highly recommend that. So if you've just joined us, Cheryl Arkle, Better Reading, what are you reading? And I'm talking about podcasts in the archive. Michael Connolly, he's a gem. I've recorded a podcast with Michael Connolly. He's also done Authors with Candice Fox, who was also at the Perth Writers Festival. And he's a great conversationalist. He's very, very interesting about talking about his career, about his journey, and the people that he's met along the way. So that's a good one. I've done over 700 podcast episodes. Wow. So let's say, I don't know how many of them are doubles, but let's say 20 are doubles. Would we say 20 or 30 maybe are doubles? Meaning that it's the same author a couple of times because, over the years, stories have changed, they've grown, they've written new books, they've had new experiences. So that would mean, I reckon, I've spoken to 650 individual people. Lucky I'm a talker. That's all I can say. One of them has been Heather Morris. We all love Heather. I've talked to her about a couple of times actually. She's the author of The Tattooist of Auschwitz, as you know. This is Silke's journey. She's really great. I think The Tattooist of Auschwitz is probably 8 or 9 years old now. We talked to her about that many years ago. She's still writing, she's still out and about, and of course, her books have been made into movies. Oh, Richard Osmond. He's fantastic. I talked to him, I think it was a podcast, but I've also think he's been to the office. I can't remember. I've spoken to him twice. He's a double for sure. And great podcast because he's worked in television. He knows how to speak on a podcast. He's a great conversationalist. And again, like Matt Preston, he is super tall. He might even be taller than Matt, really, really tall guy. And I think I came just to his waist. So that's one. Now, I'm going to hold this one up too. Kate Ceberano, Unsung. I loved, this was a podcast via Zoom. I think I recorded this during COVID. But do you know, I loved her so much. Very generous, very open about her career, and she sung a little tune on the podcast. It is one of my favourite podcasts, Kate Ceberano. If you want to have a listen, please go back. She's really worth it. And if you like the podcast, please give us a rating or a review. It really does help us stay at the top of the podcast. I'm not sure how that works, but you know what I mean. So wherever you listen to them, make sure you actually give us a rating. All right, that's me. I'm going to stop talking about podcasts because I think we've covered them all. I'm going to go on to a serious subject before I move on to the next book. This is a beautiful book produced by the Readers and Writers Against the Genocide. This is a group that's come out of Australia and started by a woman called Aviva Tuffield. They're called Readers and Writers Against Genocide, as I said. They've got these T-shirts out there. Go find them because they're selling merch. But also they have started to publish books and voices coming out of Palestine. And this is their first book that they've published, and it's called Diary of a Young Doctor, Notes from the Genocide in Gaza. And this is the doctor, Izzadeen Shahab, and he's still in Gaza. You know, I get very emotional when I talk about Gaza. You know how I feel about what's happening there. But this is definitely worth reading and worth finding out. They are seeing absolute horror stories and atrocities. And even though there was meant to be a ceasefire, Israel continues to bombard Gaza. It continues to murder people and steal people's homes in the West Bank. And this is a doctor's story. This is like on the ground and what's happening out there. Okay, let's all be humanitarians. All right, let me get over that moment. Okay, Holly says Joe Dixon is a new one, and it's called Disappearing Act, where I've lost myself. Oh, we're going to talk about Joe Dixon. Wow, that is a segue, if I've ever seen one. Was that up there? Was that up on the screen?
No, I just was there.
Oh, right. So thank you, Holly. You knew what was coming up. This is Joe Dixon's new book. It's a psychological thriller. It's a slow burn thriller where old friendships turn deadly and the past is never truly gone. So I imagine, Holly, that you're reading Joe Dixon's new one, and it's called Disappearing Act, and there it is on the screen. Colleen says, I've just finished reading a great story. She's reading what Alita was talking about, which is Murder on North Terrace by Lainey Anderson. Okay, all right, what else have we got? Where am I? I've lost my spot. Okay, all right, just finished. This is Jane. I think we've read that one. Okay, I found my spot. David Hart. Oh, well, David's in San Francisco, and he is a friend of mine, and he's a great reader. And David says, hi, Cheryl, enjoying Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've got to tell you, an oldie but a goldie. I loved that book. That's been out for a few years now. And I enjoyed that book very much. I was worried, and let me know if you readers at home have read it. I was worried that it was not of my generation and that maybe I wasn't going to be able to relate to it. It went, it was a bestseller almost immediately, and she's a great advocate for what's happening in Palestine. And she's also got a new book out. But I really worried with Normal People. I thought, well, would that speak to me as a person of my age versus, the characters in the book? Because they were quite young. I think they were in their late mid-20s or something, or late Yeah, anyway, they were young, is all I can say. David's enjoying it. It's called Normal People. It's by Sally Rooney. Let me know if you've read it. And thank you, David, and thank you for joining. Okay, Faye says, hi, Cheryl. I'm reading Mischance Creek by Gary Disher. We love Gary, and I spoke to Gary only recently. He's a two-person podcaster. I've spoken to him twice, and great guy to talk with and a brilliant crime writer. Christine says, I'm reading The Road Trip by Tricia Stringer, another great book. We love Tricia. We adore Tricia. And yes, one great book after another. She is the consummate professional, I think. She's a wonderful writer. She is truly, she's got a really lovely voice. And if you don't know, Tricia writes really mainly family dramas. And, you know, she's a good observer. She's a good storyteller, really. What have we got? Karen says, I'm reading The Unbelieved by Vicky Betratis, and she says that's a great read. And we love Vicky, actually. She's been in to see us. Deborah says, of course, I hope for books for Christmas. Deborah wants books for Christmas. I have wanted books for Christmas since she was a child. Absolutely, Deborah. I'm thinking back at some of the books that I got when I was little, and I've loved it. But, you know, even to this day, sometimes people will give me a picture book for Christmas, which I adore. Alicia says books are the best gifts. Of course they are. Joybell, hi Joybell. Hope your week has been good. We're having a fabulous week here. Joybell is reading The Road Trip. Sadly, I haven't watched many. Must get on to more. Sandra says, hi Cheryl, I'm reading Legacy by Chris Hammer, another intriguing Martin's Carston story. Now, I think we've got a copy around here somewhere. We had Chris in the office a couple of weeks ago. He was here. Did he do What Are You Reading? I'm not sure if he did that, but he was here, he spoke to us, and we recorded a podcast, and that podcast is out now. So if you want to listen to Chris talk about how he came to writing, writing Legacy, that podcast is out now. Thank you, Verity. That podcast is out now. Also, do you know what I love about him? He's very matter of fact. He was a journalist for many years. He's married to an academic, and he took his hand to writing. And gosh, he can tell a yarn. He's just such a great writer. So yes, I agree, and this is his new one. Okay, Faye says, I really have enjoyed this one too, I'm not sure. Carolyn says, my Christmas list is non-fiction. So this is Carolyn, is what she wants for Christmas. She wants When the Going Was Good by Graydon Carter, with Nail, The Film Diaries of Richard E. Grant, and Empire of the Elite by Michael M. Grinbaum. Okay, they are on the list. Now, the only one I know with those is With Nail, The Film Diaries of Richard E. Grant. But there's a list. Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for the recommendation. I'm going to have a look at those. So thank you for sharing. Sharon says, hi. Hi there. One author that stands out to me the most when you think about the authors you have interviewed in the podcast. Okay, so what... I've lost the thread there, so I'm not quite sure which author. Let me know, Sharon. Okay, Lynn says, hi, Cheryl. I'm reading Shadows of Wildstone by Mandy Margot. Fabulous. Joanne says, hi, Cheryl. I've just started Fly Away by Kristen Hanna. Very good read. Faye said, will you have to read her new one? We will have to read her new one called The Stolen. So what do we got? We've got... I've just finished Melaleuca by Angie Fay. Martin loved it. It was a quick read for me. Do you know, I recorded a podcast with her. She is incredibly interesting, written a fabulous book, and that is, Melaleuca is her first book, I think, her first fiction book, if I remember that correctly. So great read and a good recommendation. So thank you for that. Career reading. Right, okay, what do we got? Holly says, thanks for sharing, Cheryl. I will be buying this book to support the people fighting the good fight. Thank you so much. All we're saying here is be a humanitarian. Let's not kill any civilians. Okay, all right, Holly, thank you, Holly. Sandra said, I love Joe Dixon's first 2 books, so looking forward to the new one. And the new one is called A Disappearing Act by Joe Dixon. What else have we got? Joe Bell, have you watched the Sally Hepworth ABC series yet, The Family Next Door? I haven't, but Sally was at the Perth Festival and the Perth, what was it called? The Festival of Fiction. And she was on one of my panels. She is a hoot. So funny, so many stories. I haven't watched it, Joy Bell, but I will. Thank you for letting me know. What do we got? Joy Bell said she loves Sally Rooney as well. Julie says, hi Cheryl, I'm currently enjoying Dropping the Mask by Noni Hazelhurst. I grew up on Noni. I love her so much. Tricia Stringer is a lovely lady. I call her a cosy writer. That's a nice description. Yeah, that is. Thank you for that. Thank you, Vegemite Girl. Gail says, Black Beauty, always remember it. Yep, beautiful story. And Linda says, just finished the road trip. I think it is Tricia Stringer's best. I just won another copy from Victoria Perman, so pass one on and brought one to the volunteer library. Okay, what else have I got for you? I've been through the podcast. Oh, I want to talk about Come to My Kitchen. So you remember last year I asked you guys if you would be interested in talking about cookbooks, and you said yes, maybe once a month. So I've started inviting authors or cooks or chefs to cook in my kitchen, and we've called it Come to My Kitchen. So we didn't have these authors in the kitchen because they weren't available. I think Brookie was having a baby, and Jamie Oliver lives in the UK, but we did cook out of the books, and we released a segment called Come to My Kitchen, which is available on YouTube. We also we did an episode, if you like, on Jock Zonfrello's new book, and it's called Recipes to Remember. As you know, Jock passed away, sadly, and this is a beautiful cookbook put together by his wife. Now, there it is, there's a photo of it. I cooked out of the book. Firstly, I made butter. There's a how to make butter recipe in the book, and then I made a lemon cake. This book is really beautiful. It is his recipes that his wife has put together over the years, and there's some beautiful photos of Jock with his family, Jock with his children, and Jock's philosophy on food and cooking. Really heartfelt and just such a lovely, beautiful book. So look out for that. I think that could be a good Christmas present for anybody who loves cooking. Okay, I think we're going to put a segment up on Come to My Kitchen. Yeah. Yep, here we go. Hi everyone, Cheryl Arkle. This is a segment where I cook out of a cookbook. Today, out of Jock Zonfrello's book, I am making butter, and then with that butter, I am making a lemon loaf cake. So, come to my kitchen. Okay, there you go. That was Come to My Kitchen. Okay, a couple of more comments just before I go. Ross says, I've almost finished Precipice by Robert Harris. I haven't read that, but he never disappoints, does he? Anyway, let me tell you, tell me next week what you think of it, Ross, when you've finished it. The book, let us know. Deborah says, my favourites as a child were The Famous Five, Nancy Drew, Trixie Belden, and books about space. Oh, that's beautiful, Deborah. Thank you for sharing. Okay, that's it for me this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We love this segment, Thursdays at 2 p.m. And we'll see you next week. Take care.